Well, I want to thank again Teen Challenge for being with us. And we've got Danny Gallant is going to come now. Danny, you come, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about Teen Challenge. And then, as I've mentioned, Riley Kinnear has a great testimony, great story to tell. And I think he'll inspire you. And as they are sharing, if you know of someone who's affected by addictions, you just whisper a little prayer, and he'll give you an opportunity to have some other prayer. But I certainly want to have you fill out that communication card as well, and I'd love to have an opportunity to be praying. But will you welcome Danny Gallant? Here we go.
Thank you. It's hard following someone that's as energetic as your pastor, and so thank you so much for having us here this morning. Thank you to Bathers for watching and everybody that's online. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here this morning. So my name is Danny Gallant. I have been with Teen Challenge now for almost 3 years. And so I'm really excited to be here this morning. I love getting out and speaking in churches. We actually have 2 teams here in the Miramichi this morning, us here, and then my boss at another location, which is super awesome. So I would like to start off my PowerPoint by going to the first slide here and just sharing about how, addiction is gripping people all over this country and all over this world. I feel like the pastor was taking some of my points I'm going to speak about this morning, so I hope I'm not recycling too much information, but I know that Miramichi is not exempt from what's going on. My previous work experience, I worked in homelessness, and so I know that homelessness addiction is unfortunately a common occurrence here in the Miramichi. And are we able to go to my next slide? Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. So now I've talked about that because Teen Challenge, what's so great about Teen Challenge is that Teen Challenge Atlantic is part of 9 centers here in Canada that's called Teen Challenge Canada, and we're part of hundreds of centers across this world that are reaching men and women every day that are struggling with addiction. And so it's amazing being a part of an organization that is so big and on such a global scale, changing lives every day. It's absolutely amazing. And so if we can go to the next slide, who here in the congregation, those that are watching online, even in Bathurst, feel free to follow along. But how many people here has been touched by addiction? Maybe it's someone that you know, maybe it's yourself or a coworker. A lot of hands for sure. And so it's not surprising. There was a point, I feel, back when I first kind of started working in this industry, that there wasn't as many hands that would have been risen a decade ago. And so it just shows how much the drug epidemic is sweeping our country, is sweeping Miramichi, and is sweeping our province. So I'm going to give you just a few stats that you can find in our annual report. I do have a few copies here if someone here would like to grab one. I'm sorry, I should have sent some materials for the Bathurst site, but I am sorry about that. So 25% of Canadians aged 18 to 35 increased drinking to pandemic boredom, stress, and lack of a schedule over this last year. In 2020. 54% more opioid deaths from April to June of 2020 compared to the same quarter in 2019. So with COVID, and I don't want to get into COVID fatigue because I know that that's a big thing because COVID is such a huge topic in our society right now. But we knew that going through COVID that this would just increase addictions here in this country and I'm sure around the world. Unfortunately, our numbers, we had to kind of limit the amount of intakes we had at our center just to kind of, keep everybody safe and, less people and less transmission. Plus, the government here in New Brunswick and the Maritimes, you guys all know this, it was just a little bit more restrictive to get people into the province from outside earlier. I've never done this before, but I thought I would ask before I just told you the statistic. In 2017, would anybody care to guess how much substance and drug addiction cost Canadians? In the billions, that is correct. $46 billion. That's how much it's cost us. And so that's one of the reasons why coming to work is so amazing with Teen Challenge. Every day we get to come to a place that is facilitating this opportunity for men to get free from their addiction. And like I mentioned, Teen Challenge is such a global organization, but here in Canada, through this last year, even with COVID, even with what was going on, if you can go to the next slide, we still saw all of these men and women graduate our program across this country. The faces that are circled are men directly from Teen Challenge Atlantic. And it's just so amazing that through this pandemic and through everything that's going on, that these men were still able to come in. You'll hear from Riley here shortly. Riley had come into the program not too long before the lockdown started. So his program was very different than a lot of other people's, and the way he's gone through his year before he graduated. But it's so amazing. So this is part of our 9 centers. These are some of the graduates from 2020. And so if we can go to the next slide, I've already kind of talked about how COVID has affected Teen Challenge, but I really want to talk a little bit more about just kind of who Teen Challenge is and what it is that we do. How many people here, and there was a gentleman that came to us, I'm pretty sure he was in this service, that said that he's heard of Teen Challenge in some of the churches he's been in over the years. How many people here have heard of Teen Challenge before? Awesome. So I'm just going to skip to the offering, if that's okay. So I hope this isn't going to be too boring for you then, if you have heard of Teen Challenge before. But Teen Challenge is a 12-month live-in, faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation center for men over the ages of 18. Here in Canada, for some reason, but there's government regulations federally that prevents us from having teens in our program. That's why it's for ages over 18, men over the age of 18 and women over the age of 18, because we do have a couple women's centers. So that's why there's no teens in Teen Challenge. But it's a common misconception because most people assume that we only work with teenagers. But I can tell you that I'm happy that it's adults. We're located in Memramcook, New Brunswick. Our location opened in 2006, and our current capacity is 24 adult men. So what's great is that now that the province has kind of moved away from COVID restrictions, we've been able to open up a little bit more. So our numbers are increasing. We've been having students regularly coming in the last few weeks. And I believe our numbers are 15, 16 right now, with more people coming. And so our goal and our priority is always keeping our student body as safe as possible. And that's why we've had to even tweak how we get out on Sundays. And so it's hard to bring students that are currently in our program. So you're going to get to hear from Riley, who's a recent graduate of the program, and get to hear from him and a little bit of his life after he's gone from the program and what he's doing now. So 24 adult men is our capacity here in Memramcook. And so if we can go to the next slide, this is a slide of just a bunch of the different covers. I was like, what's that word? For The Cross and the Switchblade. How many people here have read this book? Awesome. Sorry, there was just a funny thing that happened in the first service. So this is some of the covers that have happened over the years. I've never seen the comic book version, and I would really like to. And how many people here have seen the movie? Yes, a few people proudly raising their hands. The movie is epic, but it is also super dated. It's definitely like an older style movie, and it was great. It's a great tool, and I would love to see them updated, but then at the same time, I'm like, it's just so epic. They really can't. Let's go to the next slide. I don't know Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But so this slide here, this is a spread that was in the Times magazine, or New York Times, magazine, that David Wilkerson opened and saw this one morning. He saw these 7 teenagers on trial for murder. What happened was they were under the influences of substances. They went into Central Park. I always have a hard time because in Moncton we have Centennial Park, so I make sure I don't say that. So they went into Central Park. They found a young boy that was disabled, attacked and brutally beat him and murdered him. And so they were on trial for murder. So Pastor David Wilkerson opened the magazine and his heart broke, which I would assume most of the people in here would have the same effect. He was just like, if I could just talk to these teens about the life-transforming power of Jesus Christ, their lives will be changed. They're facing something that no teenager should ever face and no person should ever be on trial for. And so he's just like, if I could just get a few moments to talk with these teens. So what he did was he got his country church together. They pulled their money. They donated. And he got just enough money to get him to New York and do exactly what he felt God was doing, or God was leading him to do. I don't know if you've ever followed promptings that you feel the Lord giving you. For me personally, I just kind of spit, so I'm glad you guys are farther away. For me personally, that's how I've lived my life, my adult life. I should definitely say since the age of 19, I've been in full-time ministry. And I come from a place that's called Crapo on Prince Edward Island. Does anybody know Crapo? No? Okay, a couple of people. Most people normally laugh when I say Crapo because they're like, I can't believe that that's an actual place. And it is, and it smells like it sounds. But so I come from that area, which is a very country. It's half an hour from anything. And I felt God calling me to Moncton, New Brunswick. And that was hard for me to walk out into, but now that I look at it, it completely directed the rest of my life, and I'm still in full-time ministry here now, 16, almost 17 years later. So it's hard stepping out when you feel that God is prompting you, and I'm going to talk more about that here in just a moment. So David Wilkerson went to New York City to talk to these teens. He went to the courtroom. I don't know if you've ever been to court before or if you know how it works, but there's basically like wooden pews. You sit there. You're not allowed to have your cell phone out. One time I was there and I got yelled at because I took my cell phone out for a moment. The sheriff's like, put your cell phone away. So I did. So there's the people, there's lawyers, there's a sheriff, and then there's the judge. And this is here in Canada, so I'm not exactly sure how it works in the States, but I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty similar. And so Pastor David Wilkerson goes to the court proceedings this day. He sits in the back waiting for the opportunity to talk to these teens or to ask the judge if he could have just a few moments to share with them. The day was coming to an end, and he's like, he hasn't gotten this moment yet to talk to these teens. And so he got this really great idea because he saw the judge getting ready to, standing up and getting ready to leave the courtroom that day. And so he stood up and ran at the judge. Now, if you don't know this, that's not allowed in a courtroom. So he was quickly escorted to the floor and then outside of the courtroom. If we can go to the next slide. This is a picture of Pastor David Wilkerson just moments after being kicked out of the courtroom. I think this is his happy face. What happened was there was a reporter that was like, hey, are you ashamed of this Bible that you're holding? And he said, no, not at all. So she said, raise it up. So he puts it up. And they take a picture. And all the journalists took a picture. This picture was on the front page of all the newspapers the next day. Like crazy pastor kicked out of courtroom, or I don't know what the headings would have been exactly. And so you could just imagine how he's feeling right now. He pulled his church together. He got them fired up. He's like, I'm going to go win these teens for Christ before they go to jail for the rest of their life. Like, God's going to do these amazing things in their lives, and now he's standing outside because he just got kicked out of the courtroom. So you can just imagine how he's feeling right now. And that's why I had mentioned there a moment ago, just about if you've ever followed promptings from the Lord, because when you follow a prompting from God and it doesn't go the way you were expecting, you feel defeated. You start questioning, do I even hear God's voice? Everything that you know to be true about your relationship with God is now a question. And so this is where he's at right now. He's defeated and upset, and that did not go how he had anticipated. So he worked his way home, laughing stock. A few months later, he just could not get this burning passion for these teens off of his heart. And so he does the same thing. He goes back to New York. This time, he's just like, I don't know where I'm going to go. So he actually went and parked in the exact same parking spot he was in the first time that he went to New York City. He gets out of his car, and all of a sudden he hears like, "Hey, preacher." And this kid walks up to him. They start talking. And because what happened was, because it was the laughing stock on the newspaper the next day, everybody in New York City saw this. People that are on the streets, people that are in their addiction, gangs, gang members, gang leaders. People saw it. And so people that were like in gangs or like on that side of the law were like, wow, this preacher's kind of cool. He just got kicked out of the courtroom. We don't like court. We don't like judges. He must be like one of us, is kind of how they meshed that all together. So he shared what he wants to do. This young guy starts taking him around and introducing him to gang leaders and gangs in New York City. And for the rest, you need to read the book, because that's how Teen Challenge started, on the promptings of this pastor, and he couldn't get it out of his heart. And when he went back to New York City, just how if that experience didn't happen that first time, he wouldn't have had this in this time. Like, it doesn't mean that he wasn't hearing the voice of God when he felt this prompting. It was a process. It's, God's like, hey, I'm working this out. And I'm working it out so much. This was in the year 1958, which is when our building in Memram Cook was built. So 1958, God's using this preacher in New York City while he's preparing for the future of Teen Challenge and Teen Challenge Atlantic in Memram Cook, New Brunswick. That's just super cool. Can I get an amen? Just so you guys know, that's the first time I've ever asked on stage for an amen, but might not be my last. So what's so amazing, and if you're feeling promptings on your heart here for the Miramichi and how you can reach your community, step out into those promptings. Like I've said, my entire adult life, my entire adult career has been stepping into these promptings. You never know where God's going to take you when you're willing to just kind of step through that door. And so this is something I don't normally talk about when I'm on stage, but about a year and a half ago, I had gone to Little Caesars and got pizza. Do you guys have a Little Caesars here? Okay. So Little Caesars is like, you go in, the pizza's ready, you leave. It's like $6, so it's super cheap. So I went in. This person had known me and known that I worked with homeless people here in Moncton in the city, and they're like, hey, do you want to start, like on Sundays, no one picks up pizza, so we just throw it out. And so I was like, yeah, I'll start picking it up. So every Sunday for the last year and a half, I've gone and picked up and sometimes filled my car with pizza, or sometimes picked up 1 or 2 pizzas, and then I drive around and give it out to homeless people. And so the only reason I'm saying this is because I wasn't expecting God to open this door for me in Moncton. I wasn't looking for that opportunity, but I was definitely willing and opened and walked through that door when it opened. And so I just encourage you guys, if I can do it coming from a place called Crapo, you can do it coming from a place called the Miramichi. So I don't normally talk about myself so much. I just really wanted to kind of share a couple of those things. But let's go to the next slide, because I want to show you guys the beautiful property that we have in Memram Cook, New Brunswick. I often take pictures of the sunrise or the sunset because it's absolutely beautiful. And so this is our front yard. A couple summers ago, there was actually some students. There used to be a bunch of trees there, so they cleared them out so we could see the beautiful Chocolate River. And so then we have our basketball court, which in the winter we turn into a hockey rink when we can. We have our gym and our cardio room, and we have our backyard where there's lots of random soccer games that will break out and different things like that. let's go to the next slide. Here you see our chapel. And so how things work is, how things work is students wake up, they go and they have breakfast, they have their coffee, because who doesn't need their coffee when they wake up? And there's their breakfast, and then they go to the chapel for devotions for a little while. That's how they start their day. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, after devotions, they have chapel service, which with our in-house pastor, basically. And this is where this picture is coming from here on the top left, right, however you're viewing it. The one that says chapel. And and then after that, they move over to our classroom, which is right beside it. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's either our spiritual formation coach or our pastor or our addictions counselor that are teaching different programs to the guys throughout the year. And how things work is, because we have students that are coming in every week. And so if they stay the entire year, they get the entire curriculum kind of thing. So that's how it works. We have our dining hall, our dorm rooms, and that's why we had our capacity kind of just limited, because everybody shares rooms, and you can kind of see that there. And so after that, let's go to the next slide, because what happens is after the morning, they help out around our property. We often take them out, COVID willing, into the community to volunteer in various different capacities at food banks, clothing stores, different things, and doing some manual labor, cleaning up some buildings, different stuff. And so that's kind of how the day rolls out. The students do a lot of the cooking for the program and general maintenance of our building, different things like that. And what's really great is when we get to take them out to volunteer, it's super awesome when they carry that through after they leave the program. Because what we say is, you're taking a year, you're learning these tools, we're giving you these things you can now implement into your life, devotions, being a part of a church, all these kinds of things, volunteering. So when you graduate, when you leave the program, that's really when your program starts. Teen Challenge, it's the environment that's a positive atmosphere, but when you leave, you don't have all that around you, and so it becomes a lot more difficult. So let's go to the next slide, because what's the difference with Teen Challenge? There's a lot of different recovery programs. There's some different faith-based programs here in the province, in the country. There's some programs that are private, some that are government-funded. Some of the private ones are ridiculously expensive, and I'm sure for some people that those programs may very well work. There's some programs that are upwards of $30,000 and $40,000 for maybe 30, 40 days or 60 days maybe, not overly long. So with Teen Challenge, our staff were Christian. The staff are skilled. Our approach is intense. It's hard. You can just imagine what it's like if you were to leave your life, leave your family, your friends, your job, and then go to a program for 365 days. It's difficult. That is super difficult. And just making that decision in and of itself is such a huge step for the men that come to our program. Men that have children and families, it can definitely be difficult. So it's intense. It's 100% voluntary. Our program is holistic. We teach that recovery is a process, spiritual and personal growth, and we teach that faith transforms. If we can go to the next slide, because this is the main message of Teen Challenge, is that there is hope in Christ. There is hope. There is this new life that we get to experience when we come to Christ. And that's what's so great when we get to tell people about that when they come to their program, because for a lot of people, they've never experienced a faith-based atmosphere in any capacity. Maybe when they were children, they would go to Sunday school, but being a regular member of a church service isn't something that a lot of people have done. There's been people that I've met that have never heard of Jesus Christ and heard the message that we preach, that faith transforms. So at this time, I'm going to give you guys a break from my voice and invite up Riley.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Riley Kinnear. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Riverview, New Brunswick. So addiction for me really started around when I was 12. I smoked and drank with my dad for the first time. And so, it wasn't an everyday thing, but it kind of normalized it for me. So, when I went looking for friends and friend groups, that was what I was kind of looking for to do. And so from 12 till about 15, that's kind of all I did. Wasn't often, but after the first year of my high school year, I was about 15, we experimented doing other drugs. At first it kind of started like a weekend thing here and there, just for fun, but then it quickly turned into, during the week and pretty much every day after that. And, in high school for me, so I played football, and that's kind of how I found my identity, was, through partying and playing sports. And so, after high school, that's kind of all I had, but I didn't have football anymore, so all I had was partying. And just about, about 1 year after high school, I ended up in residential private rehab. That was, expensive, about $35,000 for 42 days. And during that time, I learned a lot about addiction itself and the science behind it, but didn't learn a lot about me, and didn't have enough time to really, change who I was. So, the first day out, I just went right back to drugs and old people and relapsed. And about 8 months later, I had the opportunity to go back for free, but, same thing. Just rinse and repeat, came out and relapsed. And, through high school and everything, you don't really have a lot of responsibility, so there's no, I never really got into too much trouble. But the second time coming out of rehab, my mom was kind of sick of it. I was like 18 or whatever, 19, and so I had no money, because all I was doing was spending it on drugs, and I just bounced around couch to couch. And luckily, I never become homeless, but there was a lot of times where it was very close. And through those times, there's a lot of close calls, like overdoses or car accidents, or like running in with the cops. And just the people I was with, there was never a safe environment, and I was pretty lucky that I'm still here. But through those times, eventually, my mom called me up one night and said, to come home. And it was pretty surprising, because we didn't talk for a long time. We're not on good terms. And so I went, and she had the laptop open, and there's 2 programs that were on the computer. It was either Portage, which is like a 6-month co-ed rehab, it's like government funded, or a Teen Challenge, which is 1 year long, all guys, faith-based, and we couldn't smoke. You can't smoke at Teen Challenge. So at the time, looking at Teen Challenge, everything was red flags, but I decided to go. And at that time, there was no peace. It was all darkness in my life. But when I chose to go, there felt like a warm hug. I felt like I made the right decision. And so about 2 weeks after applying, I walked into the doors of Teen Challenge, February 19th, Wednesday at 10:30. And, through the process of Teen Challenge, it gave me just like the fundamental skills to become a normal human being and find myself and what I want to do, because doing drugs at such a young age, like, I didn't know who I was, and just kind of followed the crowd and, just wanted to have fun, or thought I was having fun. But so, it helped me rebuild my relationships with my family and friends worth keeping. Through the process, I accepted Christ, and me and another student of the program at the time, we got baptized about 4 to 5 months into the program at Abateau Beach in Capilé. And just, it taught me how to have fun sober, because all I really ever did pretty much from high school was just get high or drunk, so nothing was really fun to me. But it really gave me my life back and just introduced me to Christ. And so now, like, I'm enrolled in school. I'm 7 weeks into like a business course for marketing. Just like been granted a lot of opportunities to do different things. Like throughout the summer, I was building a house, which is pretty cool. Never done that. Just be able to be up here and share, testimony of what God's done for my life and what He's doing, at Teen Challenge and through all the other people. And just hope I encourage everyone here that, God still does miracles and still works in many different ways. So yeah, that's my testimony. Thank you. So before I give it back to Danny, if we could go to the next slide. So we have a sponsorship program at Teen Challenge. So when you stay in the program for about 4 months, they take your picture and they send out these cards. And so sponsor someone, it's a $40 per month fee. We have some brochures out back that you can fill out, mail, or sign up online. But with it, yes, you do donate, but also you get a little card, a picture of someone, and get to know a little bit about them. So you can either keep them in your Bible on your fridge and just pray for them, but you also get the opportunity to write them letters or emails or whatever, to encourage them and just tell them how you're praying for them or whatever. And sometimes through 1 year, there is hard times, and for some people it is a day-to-day battle to stay. So when they get these letters, I know for me at times it really did encourage me, knowing that random people were praying for me and believed I could do it. And so just be cool. We have a goal of 50 sponsors this year. And it'd be cool if we could get 2 today out of this service, if God puts it on your heart, if you want to pray for it, about it. So now I'll hand it back to Danny, and thank you.
Not to put the pressure on you guys, but this first service, they donated I think it was $5,000-$10,000. Just kidding. Well, I have no idea. But, hearing stories like Riley's is what keeps us encouraged, keeps us coming out on Sundays, telling people about Teen Challenge and what their lives can be like, that there is freedom from their addiction. Because when you're in your addiction, your mindset is your addiction. It's getting your next fix, and eating goes to the wayside. Relationships falls to the wayside unless you're looking for money. And this is just a general. This isn't every single person. Please don't get me wrong. But when you're in your addiction, that's your focus. And so knowing that there's a life that you can have outside of that, knowing that Jesus is no matter what you did before, you can have this new life. These are pamphlets if you would like to become a sponsor. We do have some of these out back. And I just want to take a moment. If you have someone in your life that you're hey, them going to Teen Challenge could save their life, we do have pamphlets for them, for someone that is looking for help. And I just want to take a moment. I didn't do this in the first service, but if you're here and maybe your son or your daughter or your friend or someone is so gone in addiction that you're just oh, I would love to see them go to Teen Challenge, but they never will. There's no point in bringing it up. Don't stop mentioning it. You don't know that this is the day that Riley comes home and hears it from his mom and agrees to go. You don't know that today's not going to be that day. Take those moments. Take those moments to plant these seeds of programs like Teen Challenge. Take brochures and give it to them, because I can guarantee to you that they aren't happy with where their life is, and they're hoping that they can get help. They're hoping that they can get out of this. I just want you to know this. For 13 years, I worked with homelessness in Moncton, and so I would have people in front of me crying their eyes out, saying, why can't I get off these drugs? People that on the street, they're oh, this hard dude. But then when they're with someone that they can trust, bawling. I'm not even joking, bawling. So don't give up hope. I just want to take a moment there. So Riley had mentioned he had gone to a program that was expensive. For Teen Challenge, the entrance fee for a student coming into the program is $1,100, and that is the only financial ask that we ask of a student throughout the year. That's why we do Sundays like this. We have amazing churches like you guys that support us on a regular basis. I saw our name up on the plaque, and we just want to say thank you so much for that. I really do. Thank you for your generosity. And so if we can go to the next slide, Riley had mentioned when he would be having hard times, he would get a letter from a sponsor. And I just want you to know that when you're a sponsor of a student at Teen Challenge, you're impacting more than just that person. You're impacting his family's life, his friends, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. That's who you're impacting, because you're giving them their family member back. And so I just want to, for the first little bit, I was talking about what Teen Challenge is. And so this last little bit, I'm basically going to be talking about ways that you can get involved with Teen Challenge. If we can go to the next slide, because sure, your money is what helps us, continue to do what we do, but we really need prayer, and I want you to know that. And I ask you if you'd be praying for us on a regular basis, praying for the students on a regular basis, because it really can be a daily struggle to stay in a program, to stay at Teen Challenge. It can be daily, because what happens is, like I was mentioning a moment ago, when you're in your addiction, you're so consumed with so much that now you're starting to get clean, your mind's starting to become unfogged, and all these emotions are starting to come up. I did this to my mom. This is coming up. And so dealing with emotions like this on a regular basis is difficult, but now you're in a program, you're away from family and friends. You can only have 3 or 4 phone calls a week with people that are trusted and positive influences in your life. And so please be praying for us. Long story short, please be praying for us. Please be praying for our students that are in the program. You can give of your time, and there's different ways you can do that. We're always having fundraisers, and because we're in Memram Cook, our goal is to actually expand fundraisers around the province and actually have different sites. And Miramichi was going to be a site for a fundraiser recently, but with rain, we canceled it. But we still did do it in 4 different cities. And so just keeping that on your radar. You can be helping me with my new job, because I was previously a community support worker at Teen Challenge, and now I'm development and events coordinator. So I definitely appreciate the help. If you're coming around Moncton and you'd like to drop off some baked goods, that'd be amazing. If you'd like to help out with fundraising committees via Zoom, a lot of things are possible. And so if we can go to the next slide, we have Lunch and Learns, which is basically like this, but for businesses. If you would like to start collecting air miles for Teen Challenge, that helps in a very practical way. That'd be much appreciated. Maybe you have a car just laying around. That's my joke when I get to that part. Some people do, and it's actually crazy that sometimes you can get a better tax receipt than you can for the car. So just kind of throwing it out there. We definitely take cars, and there's a lot of the things I'm telling you guys about, you can actually get some more information at the back after the service if you so wish, or you can go on our website, tcatlantic.org, ca.ca. Sorry. If we can go to the next slide, everything's online giving, so if you would like to give to us online, much appreciated. You can become a sponsor online. You can find out lots of information on our website. If you choose to donate, as a result of us being here this morning, if you could just indicate that, because that would just be really great, knowing that was from us being here this morning, from my amazing on-stage presence. I'm just joking. You're like, is he almost done? Can we go to the next slide? So this is a brand new event that we've never done before. It's an online virtual gala. Everything's virtual. We were hoping to have in-person spots. Miramichi was going to be an in-person spot. With government currently, the regulations on churches, we've decided just to pull back from the in-person aspect and just be promoting online, just so then it's not last minute trying to change everything up, because November 18th, a lot can change before then. So, but if you're interested, you could, we call it virtual passes or viewing passes, not tickets. They're $25. They can also be found on our website, or you can give me a call and I would happily give you more information on that. Let's go to my last slide. You're like, yes, he's almost done, as far as you know. So I told you guys about how the day goes with our students, and this is how our day ends. On Mondays and Wednesday nights, we gather our students in the chapel, and this is the last thing they do before they go to bed. We gather around and we pray for complete strangers. Their names find their way into this box. So I will not be offended if you take your cell phone out right now and text a name to this number. We're not going to contact you after the fact and be like, hey, would you like to donate? That's not what this is for. This is 100% just to bless people that's on your heart and on your mind. And so how it works is At the start of this service, I asked, how many people here have been touched by addiction? So the people, thank you, the people that came to your mind at that moment, those are the names you text to this number. Let our guys be praying for your family and your friends, your coworkers. This was always one of the highlights of my day and my week, was getting together and seeing the students pray for complete strangers. Some of these students have never prayed out loud, but they're praying for people because they know that they're in need. Tuesdays and Thursday nights, we end the day in worship. So we start the day with Jesus, we end the day with Jesus, and there really is a whole lot of Jesus right in the middle. So guys, thank you so much for having me here today, having Riley here. We're really excited to be here. I'm going to pray. I'd like to pray for you guys and pray for the community. And again, please text any names to this number so we can be praying for people in your communities. Bathurst and anybody that's online, feel free to do the same. But yeah, let me pray. God, thank you so much for what you're doing, God, here in the Miramichi. Lord, I pray for anybody that may be here watching online that is struggling with addiction, God. Father, I pray that right now, Lord, that they can feel your hope and they can feel your love, Lord, knowing that there is hope, that there is a chance to get out of this rut that they've been in, out of this addiction, that there is freedom, God. And I just pray for the Miramichi, Lord, and the Point Church, and just how the Point Church can be just such a blessing in this community, Lord. And I just really pray that your Holy Spirit just continues to broaden their reach and bless their outreaches, God, here at the church. God, I thank you so much, Father, for Teen Challenge and the fact that this ministry is around the globe, God. I just thank you so much, Lord, for the reach, Lord, that you've created and you've expanded for this ministry, Lord. Father, I pray you bless us, be with us the rest of this day and this week. Father, in Jesus' name, amen.
Hey, thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate you coming to present Teen Challenge. Riley, thank you so much for sharing your testimony of changed lives. I want to encourage you to visit them at the table there in a few minutes out in the lobby. Or if you're joining us online, be sure to look up Teen Challenge, and we'll put some information in the comments below so you can find them easy. But hey, I am so thankful for you. If on your way out of here today, turn in those communication cards. Certainly, if you want to be participating in our offering today, you can place that in the boxes as well. If you want to make a special donation toward Teen Challenge, a one-time donation, you certainly can grab the envelopes that are in the seat backs in front of you and just designate a portion of your offering to Teen Challenge this morning. But here's what I want to make sure you did not miss, because I know that some of you are facing this, and Danny mentioned this, and we see this in Riley. Yes, yeah, nobody's going to help me with that, right? We see that in Riley, but here it is. Back in 1958, there was a building being constructed that God understood that 50 years later was going to be used for this very purpose. In 1958, a pastor feels a prompting and says, oh no, that must have been wrong, almost, because he got attacked in court and wrestled to the ground. But it's when things go wrong, listen to me, it's when things go wrong that God uses those things incredible. Don't pray for everything to go right. If David Wilkerson hadn't have had things go terribly wrong, he wouldn't have got on the cover of every newspaper in New York, right? If there hadn't have been some problems even with that building that you guys have, you were able to buy it at a fraction of what it was worth. God works those ways. Whatever you're facing today, even in Riley's situation, Riley wouldn't have the relationship he has today with Jesus had he not faced the struggles without Jesus, right? God's got something for you. Get ready to receive it. Would you do that? As you walk out of here, turn in those grip and rip cards, the communication cards, and may God bless you way more than you could ever ask or imagine. Have a great week.